AI is supposed to expand thinking, more ideas, more perspectives, faster access to knowledge, but something else may be happening at the same time. Thinking may be becoming more similar. Consider a simple task. You ask an AI system to explain a concept. It gives you a clear, structured answer. Now imagine thousands of people asking similar questions. They receive similar explanations, similar wording, similar structure, similar framing. At first, this seems helpful. Clarity improves, confusion decreases, information becomes easier to understand. But over time, a pattern appears. The range of explanations narrows. This is not because people are forced to think the same way. It happens because they use the same tools. AI systems are trained to produce useful, coherent, and generally acceptable responses. They avoid extreme positions. They favor widely supported interpretations. They aim for clarity and consistency. These are strengths, but they also shape the output. When millions of people rely on these systems, they are exposed to similar patterns of reasoning. This becomes more visible in writing. Students, professionals, and teams use AI to draft documents, generate ideas, and refine arguments. The results are often well-structured, but also familiar. Over time, outputs begin to resemble each other, not identical, but aligned in tone, structure, and approach. This is where convergence begins, not in opinions, but in how ideas are expressed and developed. There is a reasonable counterargument. Some argue that AI actually increases diversity of thought. It allows people to explore new topics, access different perspectives, and generate alternative ideas. In many cases, this is true. AI can introduce users to information they might not have encountered otherwise. But access does not guarantee variation. If the system presents information in similar ways each time, the path through that information becomes standardized. Different inputs can still lead to similar outputs. Another factor is convenience. AI systems provide immediate answers, clear, structured, and ready to use. This reduces the need to search, compare, and interpret multiple sources. As a result, fewer people go through the process of building ideas from scratch. They start from generated structures, and those structures are often similar. This does not eliminate creativity. People still modify, adapt, and expand on what they receive. But the starting point becomes more uniform. There is also a scaling effect. When a tool is used by millions, its patterns spread quickly. Common phrasing becomes more common. Certain ways of structuring arguments become standard. This can be subtle. No single output stands out. But across many outputs, the similarities accumulate. Second-order effects can appear over time. If communication becomes more standardized, differentiation becomes harder. Ideas may still differ, but how they are presented becomes more predictable. This can influence decision-making. If multiple proposals follow similar structures and reasoning patterns, they may feel equally valid. Distinguishing between them becomes more difficult. There is also an educational impact. Learning often involves struggling with ideas, forming arguments, and refining them. If AI provides structured answers immediately, that process may shorten. Understanding may still develop, but through a different path. The role of effort changes. Less time spent constructing, more time spent selecting and editing. This is not necessarily negative. Efficiency increases, communication improves. But the nature of thinking shifts. Another dimension is trust. When people repeatedly receive useful answers, they begin to rely on the system. The default becomes acceptance, not necessarily blind trust, but reduced friction. And when friction decreases, variation can decrease with it. Fewer alternative paths are explored. Fewer independent structures are created. None of this means that AI controls what people think. It does not enforce conclusions. It does not remove disagreement. But it influences how ideas are formed and how they are expressed. The shift is gradual. Each interaction feels helpful. Each output seems reasonable. But the cumulative effect shapes patterns. Thinking becomes more efficient, more structured, more aligned. The question is not whether this is good or bad. It is what it changes. Because diversity of thought is not only about different conclusions, it is also about different ways of getting there. And when many people rely on the same systems for guidance, those pathways may begin to converge. Not through pressure, not through control, but through shared tools. which means the difference between ideas may remain, but the space between them may become narrower. And that shift can be difficult to notice because everything still looks clear, consistent, and well structured, even as it becomes more similar.